Hello everyone, Courtney here. Today we are going to talk about a very important soft skill, and dare I say, the most important one. But don't worry, because it's so incredibly important, we will just dip our toes into it for now. Welcome to episode number 23. Let's get into it.
Where inventing, passion, and hard work intersect. Welcome to the Serial Inventing Podcast. Bite-sized, perspective-altering episodes on serial inventing and beyond. From motivating key tips on product licensing to obstacle-busting conversations on transitioning to a full-time serial product developer. Buckle your seatbelt, because you're in for a ride. Warning, this podcast may motivate you to make wild decisions that will propel you forward in your inventing career and hijack more of your time for your passion. If you aren't ready to make it happen, then this podcast isn't for you.
There are some very obvious traits that up your chances of success as an inventor. But there are only a few that if you have them, I will bet all of my money on you. In my mind, one takes the cake. Now, before I reveal this trait, let me just say this. The trait by itself can also be used negatively, especially if you don't have someone guiding you. In fact, it can purposefully propel you to spin your wheels. It's nuanced. And when used incorrectly, it can make you move in the opposite direction without any help. Do not put this trait in the wrong area. And that trait is discipline. In the philosophical belief of essentialism, as well as peak performance studies, discipline is a hot topic. I really love how American entrepreneur Jim Rohn put it. Discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishments. The Oxford Dictionary states that it means to train oneself to do something in a controlled and habitual way. The word habit is actually in the definition. More on how to create discipline in a world of fleeting motivation in episode 6. Getting discipline can be daunting, but good news for you, you can train it like a muscle. Discipline is something you learn, like chess. You aren't born into this life knowing how to play chess. You must take the time to learn how to play. If you get good at it, chess, and therefore discipline, and you don't continue to train it, you lose it. Now let's break down discipline for a second and make this really incredibly crystal clear. And I haven't heard a better way this could be put than by an episode from the Mindset Mentor podcast. Discipline doesn't come from things that you want to do. Discipline means that you do the things that you don't want to do whenever you don't want to do it because you should do it. Discipline comes largely into play when you don't want to do something. Often, those who are disciplined learn to be so at a particular job they had to be disciplined for, and often when a tight ship is run, so to speak. I think that what is important to remember is that whatever you are doing that you really don't feel like doing is helping you get towards a larger goal, which is motivating to you. Such as not wanting to pitch when you know it will get you a deal. Discipline is required for success, and I would say it's the number one skill to getting that success. We need to discern the difference between our feelings and our actions. Do you feel like getting out of bed every single day? Probably not. But do you do it anyway? If you're listening to this podcast episode not in your bed, you did it today. And most likely, you did it the day before and the day before. You have created that habit of getting up. You didn't feel like it, but you did it. That's discipline. You didn't feel like going to the gym, but you did it anyways. You didn't feel like cooking dinner, but you did it anyways. You are disciplined. Now you just need to move that discipline into inventing. It's interesting when you think about your goals in the grand scheme, because if you fall short of your goal, you didn't make it. But if you went above and beyond past your goal, you will be even more successful and often not making your goal, hitting it, and going above and beyond are all very close on a timeline. Just think about walking on a treadmill and stopping 10 seconds short because you're basically there. But you didn't hit that exact length of time you said you would do. You fell short. In licensing, that is not close enough. There is no falling short. What if you were planning on stopping right at the time you said you would, but then, say, the time continues to lapse and you just decided to add 10 more? And hey, why not 10 more? You are pushing yourself to do better. And it becomes easier and easier to accomplish hard things when you are on your own side, rooting for yourself. It becomes, dare I say, fun. Success is not a mountain that is climbed in one day. It's piled up micro successes of discipline that you accomplish every day. It's the same as gaining weight. You don't put it on in one day. You eat a cupcake one day, and then a bag of chips the next. And soon enough, eating poorly becomes a bad habit. And then you end up gaining weight. And if that was your goal, you would have successfully won because you did so with micro pieces of the same thing that created a habit every day. What's so cool about soft skills is that they transcend the location they are learned in. They are transferable. If you want to spend more time with licensing, but just don't have the time in your life to do so, start with learning how to be disciplined at your job that you hate. You heard that right. Eventually, that skill will be very easily transferable to licensing and all other aspects of your life. Become the best version of yourself through a variety of soft skills in everything that you do. So when you do have time to work on licensing, nothing will be standing in your way. Not even your own excuses, because you won't have any because you are disciplined. Here is one thing you can do on a daily basis to build up that discipline. Anytime you feel resistance, such as feeling like you don't want to pitch after already scheduling in that you were going to pitch that day, lean into it. In fact, I want you to write this down. I'll wait. You ready? It's just one sentence. Lean into the resistance and do it anyways. Lean into the resistance and do it anyways. Pitch to one company, just one. Build that muscle. If you feel resistance towards something you know you should do, such as go to work every day or put your shopping cart back to its home, do it. Because not only is it a muscle, but in its reverse, it's a slippery slope to choose to embrace mediocrity and laziness little by little. Soon enough, you will be sitting in mediocrity, just like I talked about in episode 17, and you'll never even realize it. Maybe you are in there right now, and you never even realized it. Don't turn that snowball into an avalanche. You know what you need to do. So, for your exercise for the week, and if you are a serial inventor, then for forever, if you feel that resistance, lean into it and acknowledge the resistance as a sign to do the thing you don't want to do. Be forewarned that I think a big reason why this is so hard is that feeling of resistance feels like an instinct or intuition. You feel like you are going against yourself. And if you aren't trained in the art of discipline, or even grew up to know nothing but giving up after a while of trial, you are going against yourself. You are retraining yourself. And with that comes growing pains. But muscles are also micro torn to create bigger muscles. It's a sacrifice you must make to be successful. And some people are not willing to make that sacrifice. And anytime you need that extra bit of help in the face of that resistance, here is a sentence you can memorize and say to yourself during those times from an article by mental performance coach Brian Kane. I don't feel like doing this, but I will do it anyway because that's what champions do, and it's the start that stops most people. So let's get started. Let me repeat that. I don't feel like doing this, but I will do it anyway because that's what champions do. And it's the start that stops most people. So let's get started. We are doers. We must execute to make it happen. And that means we must be disciplined to hit our goals. We report to our goals, not to ourselves. And this leads me to end with my favorite quote by author, speaker, and entrepreneur Steve Pavlina. When you live for a strong purpose, then hard work isn't an option. It's a necessity. Thanks for tuning in and taking a few bites with me today. And remember, serial inventors don't make excuses. They make it happen. See you soon.